And we also sort of work quite closely with a number of research councils, arts and humanities research councils. So if you're looking to partner with academics from the arts and humanities disciplines, then there's opportunities for their efforts to be funded through the research councils. Similarly with the Economic and Social Research Council, again, if you're working with social scientists or economists, and similarly the Engineering and Physical Sciences Research Councils. Application details. We've got an indicative budget of 5 million. That's the amount that the Technology Strategy Board is going to be putting in. But our partners, if they see applications that play to their interest areas, they will look to fund that part of it, so it could expand. It must be truly collaborative. We fund collaborative research. So, you can be collaborating with other businesses in the creative industries, with other business outside, with technology partners, with technology companies, or with universities. But it must be truly collaborative, and we mean truly collaborative, not tokenism. You can have as many partners as you like, but we do bear in mind that if you've got too many partners, there's a cost of managing that, and a risk. And we've split it into two streams. We have fast-track projects, which really sort of picking up on a little bit of what Nigel was saying earlier, a simplified, less risky track, particularly targeted at SMEs. And that's for projects that are below 100k in total value. Typically last 12 months, but they must be led by a creative industry SME. And we've got 2 competition cycles, and I'll explain what that means, or hopefully it'll become clear in the next couple of slides. Now, for projects above 100k, for the larger collaborative projects that typically run 2 to 3 years, there's an opportunity for larger sized projects. These must be industry led, but we've only got 1 competition cycle. It's 2 stages, but 1 competition cycle. For state aids reasons, we can't fund product development. We're looking to get to a very much a pre-market or a concept prototype. So we'd say at the end of it, we'd be expecting you to get to market within sort of 2 to 5 years. But bearing in mind the speed at which this sector develops, one year is not much of a surprise, to be honest. But as long as when you finish your product, it's not popping out in the market and earning revenues the next day. Otherwise, you'll fall foul of state aids. I'm just going to tell you a little bit more about the fast-track projects. I realise this might be a little bit confusing because we've got 2 streams running, but say do ask us questions if you're a little bit not clear about it at the end of things. So for fast-track projects, you get a maximum of a 50k grant for projects up to the value of 100k. Now, if it sort of tips over slightly, by the time you've done your calculations, it looks like it's going to be slightly over the 100k, then that's fine. Too far over, and we'll say you're trying to get through a simplified process, and really you should be going into the larger collaborative programme. So we provide 50% of it, and the partnership between them are expected to make up the other 50%. Now, that's in-kind funding. We're not going to ask, for you to show us your bags of money. It is your time and your overheads of your company that we count as the in-kind funding. But no partner can have that can accrue more than 50%. Will have more than 50% of their costs covered, and we actually include academics in that. Unlike our other scheme, academics are counted as industrial partners. So they would be expected, they'd only have 50% of their costs covered, and they'd be expected to contribute in-kind funding. It's a 1-stage competition, so it's just one form that you need to fill in, and we do aim for a quick turnaround. So within 3 weeks of submission date, you'll get an answer as to whether you're being funded or not. We're running it in 2 competition cycles, and I'll give you the dates a little later. If you're unsuccessful in the first, we will provide some feedback, and you've got that opportunity to apply again. Application is through our dedicated website. You download the form, you upload the form through that process, and that's the way that you'll get communicated to feedback from your proposal. Now, when you do download that form, don't change the numbers or anything on that, because that's the way we'll track it right through the process. So that's all I was going to say about Fast Track. I mean, there will be a sort of fuller briefing session in April, so if you want to know a little bit more about how to fill in the forms, Make sure you get plenty of sleep the night before and come along. So for the larger collaborative R&D programme, so that's for projects over and above 100k, there are different levels of funding. So if your project is at the basic level, which to be honest I'd be highly surprised if anything is, I mean you probably have a large component of academic work in there. So if you've got an idea but you're really unsure about what its final applications are, what market it's likely to be in, you'd probably fit within that space. Where we expect most to fit in is the applied research at the 50% grant funding, is when you've got a pretty good idea of, it's a new product, new service, you're developing new capability, but you've got a pretty good idea of what market, why people are going to be interested in it, and where you're going to go with it. 25% or experimental development, that's really for incremental developments. Again, so it's a pretty well understood area. There's probably it's out there in market already, but there's some significant developments that need some additional research, but it's more incremental. So you can, for business to business, actually it's slightly different. You can't get the 75% grant level, for very good reasons, because, well, you're unlikely to be doing a lot of that knowledge discovery, blue skies research. You can span more than one type, so there could be elements of it that sit within the experimental, sit within the basic research, and you'll get a sort of consolidated a split at the end of it. So other things to think about. If you are working with a university, they typically cost out at 80% of their total cost, their full economic costs. Now, universities will expect to have all of their costs, that's 80% of all of their costs, covered by the grant. No industrial partner can receive more than 50%, as we said already, of their costs covered by the grant, except if you're an SME, you can get up to 60%. But actually, when it comes to adding up the totals, if it's a 100k grant, you can only get 50k. If it's £1 million grant, you can only get £1 million of funding. You can't, so you have to divvy it up between the partners. And you could, if you've got a big academic component, you've got SMEs, and you're a large company, you could find out that you maybe don't get any grant. But that's for you to decide how best to carve it up.